Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the hidden architecture of pretty much everything. We're talking about organic chemistry, and it's a story that starts with simple carbon bonds and builds all the way up to the complex machinery of life itself.
So, what do all these things have in common? It's a great question, right? And the answer, believe it or not, lies in the unseen world of organic chemistry. It's a world built from just a few simple rules that somehow create this incredible, almost infinite complexity.
You know, our story actually begins way back in 1848 with this brilliant observation by Louis Pasteur. He was looking at crystals and noticed something really strange. Some of them formed in two distinct shapes that were perfect, non-identical mirror images of each other. This one little observation basically kicked off the entire field of stereochemistry, which is all about how atoms are arranged in 3D space.
Think about it like this. Just like your left and right hands, some molecules are mirror images that you just can't stack perfectly on top of one another. This property is called chirality, or you could just call it handedness. And while it might seem like a tiny detail, it is absolutely fundamental. It governs how molecules fit together, and it's the difference between a drug that works and one that doesn't, or even whether life can exist at all.
Okay, so let's dive into the chemist's toolkit. To really get how scientists create new materials and medicines, we gotta look at the fundamental tools they use to build molecules from the ground up.
So, one of the most powerful tools in their belt is a type of reaction called nucleophilic substitution. The easiest way to think about it is with Legos. Imagine a molecule has different active parts, kind of like different colored Lego bricks. Well, this reaction lets a chemist just pop one brick off and snap a different one on in its place. It's a simple swap that can totally change what you're building.
And one of the coolest ways this happens is through what's called an SN2 reaction. You can picture it like a perfectly timed molecular dance. A new group comes in and attacks from one side, and at the exact same moment, it pushes the old group out the other side. Boom! One single, swift move. And get this, the whole 3D shape of the molecule flips, just like an umbrella, blowing inside out in a gust of wind. Having that kind of control is a huge deal for chemists.
Right, so this is way more than just a neat molecular trick. What can we actually build with these tools? Well, the answer is pretty much everything that makes up our modern world.
Now, this is where it gets really powerful. Look at this. You can start with just one basic type of molecule, and just by changing the little attacking piece you use, you can create a whole menu of completely different compounds. One tiny switch turns your starting material into an alcohol. Another switch turns it into an ether, and so on. This is basically the playbook for creating brand new molecules.
And this chemical toolkit isn't just something for a lab notebook. It's the foundation of so many products we rely on every single day. We're talking about industrial solvents, plastics, life-saving drugs. These reactions are literally the engine that drives modern chemical manufacturing.
Let's take chloroform as an example. You've probably heard of it in old movies, but its real history is fascinating. It's been used as a solvent, as a key ingredient for making refrigerants, and of course, as one of the very first anesthetics for surgery. Eventually, we found safer options like ether, which just goes to show how our understanding of chemicals is always changing and evolving.
Now, if human chemists are skilled builders, then you've got to see what nature can do. Nature is the undisputed master architect. It uses the exact same chemical principles we've been talking about, but on a scale that is just breathtakingly complex and efficient.
Think about this. Right now, inside every single one of your cells, your body is building the most sophisticated molecules known to exist. Proteins. These are the tiny machines that do all the work. They power our bodies, and it's their incredibly intricate, folded shapes that let them do their jobs.
But here's the really mind-blowing part. All of that insane complexity is built from just 20 different kinds of molecular Legos. We call them amino acids. And each one has a common structure, but with a little unique piece on the side that gives it a special property. Just 20.
So, what nature does is it links these amino acids together one by one using something called a peptide bond. It does this over and over and over again, creating this long chain, kind of like a string of beads. This chain is called a polypeptide, and that's the first step to making a protein.
But a simple chain can't do much. So next, that chain goes through this amazing process. You can think of it as molecular origami. It starts to fold into simple shapes like spirals. Then, the whole thing folds up into a really specific 3D structure. Sometimes, a few of these folded chains will even come together to form a bigger machine. That final, unique shape is everything. It's what gives each protein its specific power, whether that's digesting your food or carrying oxygen in your blood.
So you can see there's this immense power to build and manipulate molecules both in our labs and inside our own bodies. And that power has had a profound and, sometimes a really complicated impact on our world.
Let's look at the story of DDT. When it was discovered, it was hailed as an absolute miracle. I mean, Paul Muller won a Nobel Prize for it. And for good reason. It was unbelievably effective at killing insects that carry diseases like malaria and typhus. It saved millions of lives, especially after World War II.
But, of course, the story didn't end there. The very thing that made DDT so great, its chemical stability, also turned out to be its biggest flaw. It just didn't break down. So it started to build up in the fatty tissues of animals, it became toxic to fish, and eventually insects even developed resistance to it. It had to be banned in the US in 1973. It was a huge lesson in unintended consequences.
And, this pattern has repeated itself more than once. Take carbon tetrachloride. It used to be a super common cleaning fluid. You could find it anywhere. But then we discovered that not only does it cause liver cancer, but it was also eating a hole in the Earth's ozone layer. Another useful chemical with some really dangerous hidden secrets.
So, when you boil it all down, here's the biggest takeaway from our journey today. The exact same fundamental rules of chemistry are at play in our factories and inside our own cells. The principles that let us build a plastic bottle are directly related to the principles that nature uses to build a protein. It's all part of one universal, incredible toolkit.
Which, of course, leaves us with a really fascinating and important question for the future. We understand the blueprints of matter better now than at any point in history. We have this incredible power to create, to modify, to transform. So the question really isn't if we can build, but what will we choose to build next?